Blake Wiltshire. You are the Director of Residential Services at Althoff Home Services in Chicago. We're going to talk a little bit about how budgeting sets the stage for growth. But before we do, I need to ask you an icebreaker so the audience knows you a bit.
All
I
right.
would like to know, Blake, if you had 25 hours in the day, how would you spend your extra time?
Um, I think that's pretty easy for me. I'd spend it with my kids. I have three kids, uh, 10, 8, and 4. And,
Oh man.
with the summertime, our days are a lot longer right now. And so I actually have some outside time with them when I get home. And lately we've been doing a lot of fishing and I've just, I've just really enjoyed it. And so for me, definitely spending time with them.
I think that's an answer that's going to get everyone listening on your side and ready to learn from you. And also, I actually forgot to check. Um, Althoff is in Chicago, but do you guys have any other locations?
No, we're actually located in Crystal Lake, which is the suburbs, northwest suburbs of Chicago. We do have another location in Hillside, which uh, at the time of taping this, we're in the process of getting that up and going for us. So I have a manager that's going to be staffing that, and that should be a really nice growth opportunity for us in the next year. So.
Very, very
Two
cool. Very
locations, but in
cool.
the Chicagoland area. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm a big fan of Chicago. I am a New York City native. I've been living in Los Angeles for the last 7.5 years. So I really enjoy Chicago and I want to try and spend some more time there. So hopefully I will be taken out there sometime in the future and then you and I can get
Yeah.
some coffee or something. But
There you go.
enough planning, enough Chicago planning. I want to find out how you got into the trades because you didn't plan to. So I would love to know how you got into it.
No, yeah. I mean, I went to college, got a business degree. I knew I wanted to do something in business. I didn't know exactly what that would be, you know. So as luck would have it, I actually met the owner of our company, Todd Althoff, his son, like the second day in the dorms, just walking around by happenstance. And so we hit it off and we became really good friends, actually lived together for a while. And when we graduated, he was moving back here to Illinois. I was from Mississippi. And so I was young and single and so forth and wanted to just kind of do something different. So I asked him if he wanted to live together up here in Illinois and get jobs. That was the plan. We're gonna, you know, find jobs. So I came up and I interviewed at a bunch of places, and I had a couple of offers, and it was going okay. And his dad said, "Hey, are you gonna come? Are you gonna come interview here or what?" And I was like, "Todd, I don't know anything about heating and air conditioning." He's like, "That's all right. Just come here. Let's interview. Spend the day here." So I did, and at the end of the day, he's like, "We want you to come work here." He's like, "If give us like 60 or 90 days. If you hate it, go take something else. But I think you'll like it." I did, and I hit 19 years like a month ago. So I've been here a while. It's worked out okay. So
Yeah, it worked out okay is one way to say it for sure. And I have to ask you to expand because when we first spoke, you told me that you had a very interesting and high risk and big
yeah,
time job. So tell me about what was your first job for Althoff, and it's always fun to comment on that because now you're the director of residential services. So you've come such a far way.
yeah.
It's come
I
so
think
far.
I think for a lot of people, when they think about um, in the trades, people, starting in the field, they start, as the gopher and the grunt. Well, I can tell you firsthand, you could do that in the office too. So I actually started out being delivery guy and fire watch, which if you don't know what that is, that's watching someone else work holding a fire extinguisher uh, and hoping nothing happens, but hoping anything happens, just so that you're not sitting there all day. But I remember when I first moved up, like I said, I was from Mississippi, and I told my family I was moving to Chicago, and I remember a lot of my family members saying, oh, he's got this, this big shot job up in Chicago now. And I remember really quickly thinking to myself as I'm sitting there with a fire extinguisher watching this technician work that it didn't feel like a hotshot job at all. So yeah, I mean, I started, I guess you would say, pretty much at the very bottom, um, doing those kind of things. Then I moved in, started doing some warehouse duties, ordering parts, doing truck stock, inventory, moved into dispatch, did some dispatch, moved into some service management, incorporated some install. Next thing you know, I've got all the residential. So that's the shortest version possible. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I honestly, I can't imagine being, in the position I'm at now without working most of those jobs coming through. So I've truly been
Yeah.
in a lot of their shoes. So
Yeah. And for the record, I interview a lot of folks who didn't come from the trades, who had to learn it really on the fly in order to take on leadership roles at the companies they're at now. And that's totally fine. That's how I would do it. But I think there's definitely some value to being someone who started, at the bottom of the ladder and now you're here. Because when you tell someone to be on fire watch, when you send someone to just drive parts out to a job on a hot day, you know exactly what that's like. You've done that. And
yeah.
so you know that at the end of the day, people are looking to grow out of those roles. So I think that's really important to get that context.
Yeah, and I think it's also cool because now that I've been here for a long time, I'm actually selling others on that same type of, future. And like, hey, look, I know that today doesn't seem that exciting, but you learn from that and you advance and you gather more. And that's trajectory I had. And I was really lucky because the owner, Todd Althoff, really took me under his wing early on. And we would stay late after hours and like review invoices and go through, scenarios and talk about all kinds of things. He really invested a lot of time with me, and so, I'll forever be grateful for that. But uh, it was a lot of time, a lot of training, a lot of experience, a lot of situations. Bad decisions, good
Yeah.
decisions. Here they are. So.
For real, right? So when we first spoke, you told me that budgeting really helped Althoff grow. So tell me about the budgeting class that changed everything.
Yeah, so I think for me, like we were doing pretty good, but there was just some things missing, and we had joined EGIA and we had started doing some of the little seminars and classes that they had, and they had one that was out of town. It was 3 days. It was a business planning and budgeting class, and I really separate those two things because the business planning part is probably as important to me as the budgeting part of it. And you could certainly do some of this stuff in your office, but you just won't. Um,
Hmm.
you won't be able to separate yourself like you will out of town. So, it's three days out of town, completely immersed in what you want to accomplish in the next year, what it's going to take to accomplish those goals. And it's amazing the clarity you get when you kind of separate yourself from your day-to-day activities and so forth.
I 100% agree with that mindset of getting out of your normal environment to do things outside of your routine. I live a mile from the ServiceTitan offices, but I still primarily work from home because my team
Yeah.
is all across the country. But let me tell you something, when I go in person to the ServiceTitan offices, I am so productive. Oh my goodness. I am just like crossing T's, dotting I's. It
Yeah.
truly is different. Like getting that shift, like just getting out of your normal space can really be transformative for helping your mind grow and expand and look at things in new ways.
Well, it was for me. And the class really is kind of broken into two parts. The business planning part of it really starts with an evaluation of your current processes. And, you go through, it's something like 500 different questions about your business, and you kind of rank them about how you're doing. Could you do better? Are you doing this now? Or are you not doing this? And you start with doing that, then you kind of reduce those down to the key ones, or the ones that are most impactful for you. And you just look for gaps in your business. And it's amazing, the things that you start to uncover when you're not burdened with, hey, this phone call, or this person's calling, or we got this situation to take you away from. And so even when the class is done, your mind continues to go as, you go back to your hotel, and you kind of just jot ideas and whittle that down. So it was a major game changer. We came out of that first class, I think it was November of 2020, and the instructor, Gary Alex, he calls them rocks, and we came out with our rocks. And the key concept is to have no more than 5 rocks that you're working on at one point, because it's easy to get distracted and work on 15 things at a time. But what are the most important 3 to 5 things that you need to go back and work on right away? And so we left there, and I was completely energized, and we came back and we started working on those right away. And so, one of those coincidentally ended up being to make the change to ServiceTitan. And at the time, it wasn't ServiceTitan. It was, we need to upgrade our customer experience. We need to improve our processes, our CRM. We just need better. Ours was so antiquated, and we started evaluating, and we ended up deciding to go with Titan, and it's really been a win, a major win. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sorry. I got caught up on the 5 rocks thing. Can you explain the rocks to me? Like, are rocks like goals? Are they actual physical rocks that you must burden yourself with every day until one is completed?
Yeah, we're not actually moving. Yeah, we're not actually moving boulders, but sometimes it does feel, I think the analogy there is that you're actually moving these boulders. These are the biggest things, because it's easy to I need to get blue paper clips instead of green, and it's easy to go and make that change, right? So doing the business evaluation, you end up coming to the conclusion, hey, there's like 30 or 40 things that we need to do, we need to change and improve. But once you start looking at those, you can see a lot of them are grouped together, and they come out of one thing. They kind of whittle down to 1 or 2 concepts. And so ultimately, you probably end up whittling those down to about 10 or 12. And then of those 10 or 12, what are the most important 5? What are the biggest obstacles to your success, to your growth? What's going to help you achieve what you want to achieve in the following year? And then put out a plan. What's it going to take you to accomplish that? Put a timeline on it, and just kind of work a plan to getting those. And that's been so pivotal ever since then. Just having that mindset to start the new year. And it's pretty awesome to go back and redo that evaluation and go, okay, we moved those rocks. We did that. We're on to new things. And it's just about continually improving what you're trying to achieve and do.
I love that. And I'm also going to say, I'm going to be really disappointed if you guys don't have Novelty Rocks on your desk, because that is a missed culture opportunity.
Yeah, I like that idea. But yeah, I use that term around here all the time now. It's become, kind of it's someone else's term, but we took it and kind of made it part of our culture. I not only for our business planning, I wish that we could shut down the whole company and I take, 8 people to this thing, but you just can't do it, So last year, I ended up having my key managers fill out their own rocks, what are the most impactful. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about that in our one-on-one meetings, and, see how we're progressing in those things. And it's interesting. I like to get that before I go, because then I like to see how that stacks up with what ultimately, we want to do for the upcoming year.
I love that you incorporate those into the one-on-ones. I think so often prioritization gets stuck at the top level and it doesn't necessarily funnel down, or people don't really think about it trickling up. So I think it's really smart that you incorporate that language with your direct reports. I think that's really, really awesome. You mentioned that you saw business planning and budgeting as two different things. The way I'm thinking about it, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that business planning is like, this is where we want to go, and budgeting is, this is how we're going to get there. Am I right
Right.
with that?
Pretty
Give
much.
me an MBA.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. That's what it is. Like, this is what we want to do. Here's how we're going to pay for it, type thing. Or here's what it's going to take, operationally, financially, to achieve those goals. And really, for me, the best part about the budgeting is just being able to align everybody on the same page. Okay, so we this is what our goal is. This is what our budget is for the upcoming year, and these are the metrics and KPIs and things that we're going to strive to achieve to meet those goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. So you mentioned that one of your first 5 rocks was, giving a better customer service experience to your customers, which involved you getting on board with ServiceTitan. What were some
Right.
other things? What were some of those initial rocks that you took from that first meeting?
Marketing for sure was a big one. We didn't really know what we were doing. um, it's like the old joke where we would you know do one ad someplace, and then we'd wait for the phone to ring and it wouldn't, and we'd be like, well, this doesn't work, this stinks, and we just didn't know what we were doing. And so one of those other ones was to find um, a company to help us with that, um, bring us along, make us well-rounded, both digital, traditional, be where we needed to be, and that's made all the difference. So we've partnered with some organizations there, and that they've also been a huge part of our growth and our success over the last couple of years, that we just didn't have before.
Yeah, because you guys relied primarily on referral marketing before you got a digital marketing team, correct?
Oh yeah, almost exclusively on marketing. I mean, I can remember not that long ago where, like, if there was an ad in a Sunday paper, like on a cover, that and that was like a big thing for us. And I remember when one of the first things we ever did was like did a billboard. I remember being so excited to see this billboard, and it's like, to look how far we've come in a really short period of time, maturity marketing wise. Of course, Titan helps with that too. We utilize some of the marketing pro aspects, but we've got a marketing team that we work with, that's really helped jumpstart us. So one of the
That's awesome.
one of the other rocks from this year has been to develop a better middle management team. That's been
Mm.
one of the things that we've been working on this year. And as we grow, you need more people. You need more people helping to keep things in place and moving along correctly, and processes and so forth. So working on our team.
Got it. So having like a team below you that helps with all of the stuff that entails residential services at Althoff.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We've you don't. My team would probably say this too, but you kind of just like wake up one day and you're like, oh man, like we're a lot busier than we used to be, and we're a lot bigger than we used to be. And it was by design, but you kind of just realize like, wow, we've ran more service calls this year, and we've hired more guys, more staff, And you need a good management team, and thankfully I have that here. We've got some really good players that are helping to foster this growth. Without them, we wouldn't be doing any of this. So.
That's awesome. As we're talking, this is like coming to, and it's not a secret. We do pre-interviews here at Toolbox for the Trades. Every podcast should. Free podcasting tip.
Sure.
But we talked. You've been here for 19 years, and as we're talking now, it's really just hitting me because it feels like, from what you've told me, Althoff has really like skyrocketed in the last couple years. So, am I right with that? It feels like the last like 3 to 5 years have really been pretty
well
big
for home
growth.
Certainly for home services. Yeah. So, I mean, just the name itself, home services. So you'll see, like, even the truck behind me here has the name Althoff Industries on the side. So our parent company, if you will, has always been Althoff Industries. So I was hired and worked for the first 17 years for Althoff Industries. And, one of the things that we ended up deciding to do was to change residential's name to home services. Because if you think about it, Industries if you're looking for a company and you're Googling and you're looking around, Industries doesn't sound like they would come and take care of my home's air conditioner, right? And so I wanted that to be more residential friendly. And so we made that change. That was another change that we made a couple of years ago in the rebranding. And so, we've got, new logo, new marketing material, the website, I mean, everything. So, we went, when we came back, we were energized and we went all in. So.
That's awesome. The reason I bring this up is because I talk to a lot of owner operators who kind of have this moment in their business. They get on ServiceTitan, they do a big rebrand, they kind of shift the way business was operating as usual. And you've been there for 19 years, and you're obviously a valued member of the team. What advice, and this is a bit of a curveball, so take your time with it, but what advice would you give to owners who are looking to make big systemic changes in their organization, who want to keep stellar employees like you?
I guess a couple of things. I would say be part of the vision, right? So, be part of that path. Paint that clear path. Be part of that journey. I was lucky. Our owners have been very supportive of what we're trying to do. Over the last few years, I think it's worked out. But they've pretty much given us just about anything that we've asked for, and so I'm grateful for that. I think one of the owners that always comments like, "Oh, great, anything home services want, home services gets," right? I don't know if that's true, but we have gotten a lot, and I think it's been a good investment for the owners. But I think, for me, it's be part of the journey, be part of getting it carried out.
Yeah, getting buy-in. I think that's an excellent answer. I'm so happy I asked that. So I know that as you guys have been growing, it's been really important for you to keep customer satisfaction at a high level. We didn't want that to decline. So how did you make sure that your processes didn't suffer as the company grew?
Well, that's one of my biggest fears always, is that we've always prided ourselves on really great customer service, really great quality. And I think that was a concern for us for a long time about growing, and it continues to be. I think the answer there is that we've got good people in place. We have a really strong culture, and I think the other part of it is we look for these gaps in our processes, not just at the business planning workshop, but you take those same skills and you look at what's not working, what do we need to change? Let's make those changes, and so the people, the culture, and the willingness to make improvements and changes. And look, it's something. This is an ongoing thing. We continue to
Mhm.
grow, and one of the biggest concerns I have now is as we bring new people in, forever I used to, when I would be talking to customers, I would say, hey, she's been here for 14 years, he's been here for 20 years, they've been here for 25 years. We just had a senior installer just celebrate 39 years a month ago with us. And so
Wow.
now, as we start to bring new people on, um, you know, we're trying to, how do we onboard them and get them, kind of thinking the same way that we think and embracing the culture as quickly as possible. So that's kind of been one of the challenges that we're dealing with now.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally relatable. I mean, I think everyone who listens to this show, who's been on the show, has challenges with that.
Right.
And I know this year you're pacing to hit 14 million. So since
That's the
doing
goal.
budgeting and planning, you've doubled your revenue. You're planning to hit 14 mil this year. When it comes to this concern about like, okay, how do we get more people that have this same caliber, the same excellence that we have had for so many years? Are you thinking about starting an apprenticeship program? Are you thinking about growing techs from inside? Are you like how are you guys thinking about this? Totally understand that you have not solved this problem, but I love
Yeah.
kind of brainstorming
Yeah.
these things.
Well, we're a union shop, so you know,
Mm,
it's a different set of challenges with that. There's some pros and cons certainly. I think it's whether you're pulling guys off the street or you're you know going to the union. I think it's having a clear set of standards and criteria that you're looking for in the right person, and really not settling and trying to get the right person on as best you can. Um, I, I I tell we have these conversations with my management crew all the time, and we're like, okay, so let's look at you know what this position includes, and let's write down all the qualities that the high performing person would need to have to make this role successful. And if we're interviewing somebody and they don't demonstrate those qualities, then I don't think it's a good fit, right? So I mean, it sounds simple,
yeah.
but the I think for us, um, looking looking to expand and hire before you actually need someone, to me, is one of the biggest things, because you think differently when you're in the fire than when you're out of the fire. So
For sure.
looking for people before you actually need them. And honestly, we've really done really well at bringing in entry level people, both in the office and in the field. Um, it's not to say we've never gotten any good people with experience, but I think there's a certain um, there's a certain amount of culture and things to embrace about working here. And I think when you get plugged in with 12 years experience, it may not be the place for you, but when you get to start like I did at the entry level, whether that be in the field or whatever, you get to see all the things that we do, all the things that, customer centric things, and the bending over backwards and doing these extra favors and going the extra mile and just providing more value to all the steps that we do, that after you've been here for a little while, you get it. And so, um,
Yeah.
I kind of call it like the farm system, right? So like who are our next people coming up, like both in the field and in the office, that can be our next managers, or our next awesome salesperson, or our next plumber, our next service technician. So, just kind of constantly evaluating that.
Yeah, I think that's smart, and agree with you on don't look for someone when you need it, look for someone always, because I can totally relate to the when you need someone, it's like any warm body will do. Just anyone will be fine. And
I
working
really
out of that
hate, yeah.
desperation, you don't necessarily make the best decisions, right?
Yeah, you really want to avoid that at all cost. I don't think I've ever like made one of those decisions and been like super happy with it. I mean, not often, right? So, but yeah, no, I mean, you know, no one's batting 1,000 when it's when it comes to hiring. But we try to do a pretty good process of evaluating people for the right fit, um, the right mindset, and certainly somebody who wants to serve the customer is a big one for us.
For sure. So we talked a lot about business planning, budgeting, how doing so kind of set Althoff off for this level on this in this journey to really like, you know, build their home services division to keep going on to residential, which sounds like it's working out really well for you guys. Now that you've done budgeting and business planning for a few years now, you said your first one was in November 2020. We're recording this right now in July 2023.
Yeah.
What have you learned about the process? Like, how have you tweaked it as you go year after year? You mentioned that, we're always analyzing gaps and processes to see how we can fine tune things. So just to love to know, like, what have you learned more about it since that first initial exposure to this way of thinking?
Um, I guess one, that the job is never done, right? I think
Hmm.
you could look at a company that's been around for 20 years doing the process, follow the same steps. You're always going to find gaps. No matter what, you're always going to find gaps in your operations. Um, don't let that discourage you. You know, Number two, you know, don't be overwhelmed. Pick the things that are most important and work through those. And I look at it this way: it wasn't like before this we weren't doing anything. Excuse me. It's just that maybe we didn't know the right ones to go after. And so, this process has really helped us in selecting the right things to chase, rather than, or for me, if you ask any of my team members, I want to solve everything like right away. And so
Oh, me
uh,
too.
I will often have like 10 rocks going at one point. And so for me, it's been really important, like, no, no, just do these, work on these, do the next, drop the next ones in. So,
I'm glad you brought that up. This is a theme that came up earlier on in the show that I haven't talked about in a while, but it still resonates with me. It's, the like the sweet, sweet release when you solve a problem,
yeah.
just like a simple one. It's like, I know I'm supposed to be focusing on this, but if I just like fix this thing now, that'll be nice. I'm the same way, which again, I mean, I think if you actually had physical rocks that you were carrying around every
You'd
day,
want to put them down. You'd want to put them down, right?
yeah, you'd want to put
So
them down. Yeah, you'd want
you
to put
want
them
to get
down.
them, you want to get them moved. You want to get them put down. Yeah, I know. Some of my team members always joke with me because I'll say this. It's like, and I don't even say the saying right, but it's like it's either just right or just right now. And that's my way of saying like, let's get going. Let's like, because I think you can always over evaluate something to the point of saying, well, we can't do it yet because this isn't perfect. And I don't know that you'll ever reach that point where anything is ever perfect. I think it's just being proactive rather than reactive puts you in a better position, and you know meeting those challenges head on. And I think, to me, like, my personal feeling is that when it's almost like a procrastination, and I don't
Mhm.
want to procrastinate when it comes to solving these issues. Let's tackle them, let's meet them. It's going to be hard, but let's go through it and get it fixed. So
I know, but procrastination is just like so much fun.
yeah,
Not really. It's actually like true torture for myself when I do it. And I love when I procrastinate a task, and the task I procrastinated took a solid 2 seconds to do. And I'm like, great, I'm
yeah,
so happy I worried about that for a full week. Blake,
oh
this
yeah.
has been a wonderful interview. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and your wisdom. I'm rooting for you guys to hit 14 million this year, so you're going to have to keep me
Thank you.
posted.
We'll do.
Thank you so much for being a guest on Toolbox for the Trades.